You're not just feeling off, you're sensing a system that no longer fits your soul. And no, it's not because you're broken. It's because you're too expanded to fit into a version of yourself that was never built for who you're becoming. They told you that feeling disconnected meant something was wrong with you, that losing interest, feeling empty, or waking up heavy was a sign of weakness, depression, imbalance. But what if that's not the truth? What if the very discomfort you feel is a message from your future self? What if the you that existed before simply can't run in this upgraded field anymore? We've been programmed to fear transition, to panic when the old dissolves, to doubt ourselves when nothing feels the same. But what if that strange feeling is not failure? It's a signal, a divine alert that the system has rebooted and you're no longer operating under the same laws of reality. Because here's what no one told you. You're not here to return to who you were. You're here to remember who you really are. And that version was never meant to function in a world built on fear, lack, and loops of unconscious survival. Imagine trying to run a new advanced software on a device that was never updated. It crashes, it freezes, it glitches. That's not malfunction, that's misalignment. That's your soul rejecting the outdated code. You didn't mess up, you leveled up. And just like the famous double-slit experiment proved, the act of observation shifts the outcome. Reality itself responds to consciousness. And the collective field just blinked. A new layer of perception has opened. The laws feel off because they are shifting. The simulation is changing in real time. But here's the real challenge. Even though the system rebooted, your nervous system is still wired for the old version. Your thoughts, your emotions, your habits, and they're trying to run in a field that no longer supports them. That's why your body feels strange. That's why your dreams are more vivid. That's why your soul feels louder. Not because you're behind, but because you're ahead. And in this video, we're going to explore exactly what shifted, why you feel different, and how to stabilize your energy in this new post-reboot reality. Not by trying to go back, but by remembering how to move forward in alignment with your true frequency. So if this message already resonates somewhere deep inside you, if something about this off feeling actually feels familiar, then you're exactly where you need to be. If this theme speaks to you, go ahead and subscribe to the channel right now. Don't let this moment pass silently. Click subscribe, and let's walk through this shift together. Now we'll dive into what your discomfort is really trying to tell you, and how this so-called glitch might be your greatest initiation. Energetic glitch. You're not malfunctioning. You're upgrading. There's a quiet kind of panic that settles in when what used to inspire you suddenly doesn't. The music that once gave you chills now plays in the background like static. The people you used to call home now feel distant, unfamiliar. And deep inside, you ask yourself, why can't I connect like I used to? But what if the most powerful truth was hiding where you never thought to look? What if this disconnection more isn't a sign that something is wrong, but a signal that something is no longer aligned? You are not broken. You are not off track. You're just syncing with a frequency your old self wasn't built to hold. That glitch you feel, the strange numbness, the overstimulation, the sensation that the world is both too loud and too far away, is not a malfunction. It's an echo of the old energy trying to catch up with the new you. Let me explain. Your energetic field is upgrading, stretching toward a frequency that's lighter, faster, and more transparent than what your body was used to. But your mind still runs the scripts you outgrew. Old coping mechanisms, familiar reactions, outdated expectations. So when your soul surges forward, but your patterns pull you back, you feel the lag. Like trying to stream a high-resolution video on a weak signal. It buffers, it stutters, it freezes. And that friction? That's your soul in tension with your memory. You're being pulled toward who you truly are, but anchored by who you learned to be. Here's the process. Pause for a moment. Breathe in through your nose. Hold it. Now hold your breath, just for a few seconds longer than feels comfortable. Notice where the tension lands in your body. That discomfort is not danger. It's communication, because your body knows how to release. But first, it needs to show you what it's been holding. Let's go even deeper. That feeling of not belonging, of being strangely sensitive, of no longer being able to tolerate certain spaces, people, or habits, is actually a sign that your nervous system is realigning to the upgraded energetic architecture of this new paradigm. It's not spiritual bypassing. It's neurological recalibration. You've seen it before. You just didn't know how to read it. Think of the last time you walked into a room that used to feel exciting and now feels hollow. It's not the room that changed, it's you. Your inner compass has shifted. You're sensing the absence of resonance, and that awareness is sacred. And that's why I invite you to try this. Today, choose just one automatic habit, one reflex, one pattern, one default mode, and silence it. Not to punish yourself, not to fix yourself, but to feel what arises when you stop running the old code. It might feel uncomfortable. That's okay. Discomfort doesn't mean you're wrong. It often means you're closer than ever to the truth. And before we move forward, I want to ask you something. Right now, in this moment, what word anchors how you feel? Maybe it's transition. Maybe it's remembrance. Maybe it's resonance. Whatever it is, leave that word in the comments. Write it. Anchor it. Let that be your mark in this moment of recalibration. Let it be a signal to yourself and to this community that you're no longer hiding from the shift. Because now we'll go even deeper into a hidden trap, how spirituality itself can become another version of the old system, and how to break free from that false reset without losing yourself in the process. False reset. When spirituality becomes another program, there's a strange irony in awakening. You leave behind one system of control, only to unknowingly enter another. You burn the rule book of society, only to start following the silent rules of spiritual performance. And maybe you felt this. You light the candles, you say the affirmations, you do the full moon rituals, but inside, there's still that hum of disconnection, that haunting question. Why do I still feel like I'm just performing? Let's get honest. A lot of what we call spirituality today is just another costume worn by the ego. A softer costume, a prettier one, but still a disguise. Because healing isn't a show. Awakening isn't a checklist. You don't ascend by collecting crystals or reciting mantras you don't fully feel. You awaken by unlearning. You heal by seeing, and then releasing, the scripts that were never yours. Let me give you an image. Imagine waking up from a dream only to enter another dream that feels more enlightened, but still isn't reality. That's what happens when you escape the matrix. But don't exit the programming. It's a false reboot, a spiritual echo of the same mental control. You're still reacting from the mind. You're still trapped in approval, validation, repetition. But what if healing was never about adding more, but about stripping away everything that isn't you? Let's bring this into your cells. Bruce Lipton, one of the pioneers in epigenetics, showed something stunning. Our environment, internal and external, literally reshapes our gene expression. That means your beliefs, your thoughts, your emotional atmosphere are altering the code that builds you. So if you're constantly immersed in spiritual noise that doesn't resonate with your truth, you're still operating from the outside in, still reacting, still looping, just with prettier words. Here's where we begin to shift. Pause now. Breathe in. Exhale slowly. Now speak, out loud, one belief that you've carried that never truly felt like yours. Maybe it's, I'm not enough. Maybe it's, I have to work hard to deserve peace. Maybe it's, healing takes a lifetime. Now question it. Not with anger, with curiosity. Where did that belief come from? Who planted it in you? And who might you be without it? Because sometimes the most sacred act of healing is to gently say, "This belief is not mine, and I don't need it anymore." And if that stirred something in you, if a memory surfaced or a crack opened, honor that. You're not here to put on a spiritual mask. You're here to become naked in your truth, and that's where we're heading next. Let's go even deeper into the body, because the real reboot isn't just spiritual, it's somatic. Your cells are shifting, your nervous system is downloading new instructions, and the symptoms you've been ignoring might actually be sacred signs of your energetic upgrade. The upgrade is somatic, not just spiritual. There's a quiet wisdom your body has been trying to share with you, but you've been taught to override it, to push through the fatigue, to ignore the tremors, to call the dizziness random, the insomnia stress, the tension normal. But what if these sensations aren't malfunctions? What if they're messages? Your body is not a passenger on your spiritual journey, it's the vehicle. And right now, it's vibrating under the weight of an upgrade your mind hasn't fully accepted yet. You've been told that awakening happens in the mind, that it's about insight, awareness, understanding. But your transformation isn't happening in your thoughts. It's pulsing through your cells, rewiring your nervous system, recalibrating the very chemistry of who you are. Let me give you an example you know without knowing. When your phone updates its operating system, what happens first? It slows down, glitches. Maybe it freezes. It might even restart on its own. But eventually, it runs smoother, faster, more aligned with what's next. That in-between chaos, that's not a breakdown. It's integration. And you right now are in that in-between. So when you feel your heart racing at night for no reason, when your dreams become vivid, strange, prophetic, when your skin tingles or your muscles ache or your appetite disappears, pause before labeling it wrong. Because your system might not be malfunctioning. It might be upgrading. Joe Dispenza often says that your body is your unconscious mind. So what happens when the unconscious starts to wake up? It resists, it contracts, it goes through withdrawals, not from substances, but from the chemicals of your old emotions. That tightness in your chest, that heat in your spine, that fog in your brain. These are not just sensations, they are signals that your nervous system is shedding its survival mode and making space for sovereignty. Let me take this even further. The energy of survival is tight, narrow, reactive. It's built to protect. But the energy of presence and of truth is spacious, fluid, expansive. And when your body tries to shift from one to the other, it trembles. Not out of fear, but out of reconfiguration. Here's something simple, but profound. Take your shoes off. Step outside if you can. Place your bare feet on the ground. Stay there for 5 minutes, not to relax, but to remember. As you do that, repeat, even silently, this phrase, "I am syncing with my new frequency." Let the earth hold the parts of you that are unsure. Let gravity remind you that you're not floating away. You're landing. Landing into a version of you that feels foreign only because it's finally real. And if this section felt familiar, if your body has been speaking to you in strange, subtle ways, know this. You're not going crazy. You're coming online. Next, we'll talk about how your entire emotional compass is shifting, how what used to motivate you might now feel meaningless, and why that is not a crisis, but a calling. You were synced to survival. Now you're downloading sovereignty. There comes a moment on the path where nothing excites you the way it used to. The goals you chased begin to feel empty. The dreams you held for years suddenly seem like someone else's. And there's a deep, quiet grief that emerges, not for what you lost, but for what no longer makes sense. This is where most people panic, because when you're no longer driven by the old system and haven't yet anchored into the new, the silence feels terrifying. But what if this void is not absence? What if it's space, sacred, intentional, intelligent, preparing you for something entirely new? You've spent most of your life synced to survival. Maybe not physically, but energetically. You made choices based on safety, not resonance. You said yes when you meant no because it's better than nothing. You pursued careers, relationships, and versions of success that made your nervous system feel protected, but never truly seen. And now that system is collapsing. Your desires are no longer dictated by fear. Your compass is no longer pointing to what makes sense. It's shifting toward what feels true. But here's the catch. When you stop running from fear, you don't automatically land in clarity. You first enter the in-between, the space where the map no longer applies, and your intuition hasn't yet drawn a new one. Let me give you a lens through which to see this. Joe Dispenza teaches that your nervous system doesn't know the difference between a memory and the present. So every time you think about failing, being judged, losing love, your body believes it's happening again. That's not imagination. That's programming. And the reboot you're going through is rewriting that very code. It's not enough to tell yourself you're safe. You have to feel safe in stillness. You have to practice presence in moments that used to trigger reaction. So today, just once, when you find yourself making a decision from fear, pause. Not to force a better choice, but to observe. Notice what fear says. Notice what it wants to protect. Then gently ask, is there another way? Not a louder way, a quieter one. One that doesn't scream, stay safe, but whispers, you're free now. And if that whisper feels unfamiliar, trust it. Because sovereignty isn't a concept, it's a frequency. And you're not here to survive life. You're here to live it, fully, openly, consciously. Because now we'll uncover something that often feels like punishment, but is actually a purge. The strange ways the reboot removes people, patterns, and even objects from your field. Not to hurt you, but to prepare space for who you're becoming. Signs of the reboot. You'll lose things that no longer match your code. There's a moment, usually quiet, often painful, where something just slips away. A friendship you thought would last forever begins to fade. A job you once fought to keep suddenly feels unbearable. Technology starts glitching, plans fall through, objects you cherished break or vanish, and beneath the surface you feel it. Something is unraveling. But what if it's not falling apart? What if it's falling inward, clearing space for a version of you that can no longer coexist with the past? You weren't meant to carry expired codes into this new timeline. And the reboot, as mysterious as it seems, is a master of precision. It knows what no longer vibrates with your truth. And so, it removes, not to punish, but to purify. But it doesn't feel clean at first. When a person drifts away or a chapter closes, it rarely feels right in the moment. It can feel like loss, rejection, abandonment. And yet, have you noticed? With time, those very endings often become the openings that changed everything. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman who spent years in a job that drained her soul. It was stable, secure, respectable. But one morning, without warning, she was let go. Panic took over. She felt lost, worthless. But in that quiet space, the space where she had nothing to perform, no title to uphold, something ancient within her awakened. And for the first time in years, she began writing again. Within months, she opened a healing practice. Not because she planned it, but because the space had finally opened for it to emerge. You see, sometimes the things we lose were never truly ours. They were placeholders, holding space for what we were too afraid to claim. So if your phone keeps breaking, if people are ghosting you, if your favorite clothes suddenly don't feel right on your body, and pause. These aren't accidents. They're energetic alignments. Your field is shedding what no longer matches the blueprint of who you're becoming. Here's something that might shift how you see these losses. Take a moment. List 3 things that you've lost recently. It could be a person, a job, a craving, a plan. Now ask, what version of me needed this? The version that hustled for approval, the version that believed chaos was normal, the version that stayed quiet to feel safe. And what if those things left because that version of you no longer exists? Thank you for staying with me until this point in the video. That alone means you're moving through this with awareness. Take a moment to share with us in the comments. Have you experienced a loss that turned out to be a release? Your story could help someone else make peace with their own. And if this journey is resonating with you, subscribe now and become part of this space, a space where we don't escape transformation. We walk through it together. Because next, we'll explore one of the most sacred truths. Your soul is speaking all the time, but not in words. You'll discover how to recognize its voice and why uneasiness is often the clearest message your spirit can send. The soul doesn't speak English, it speaks frequency. There's a reason you can't explain what you're feeling, why the words get stuck, why the logic doesn't land, why the questions don't seem to have answers. It's not because you're confused, it's because you're trying to use language, to interpret vibration. And the soul doesn't speak in sentences, it doesn't debate. It doesn't argue, it vibrates. You felt it, that sudden uneasiness when you walk into a room that looks fine, but feels wrong. The pull toward a stranger who hasn't said a word, but something in you knows they carry a familiar frequency. The resistance to a yes that sounded perfect on paper but made your body contract the moment you said it. That's your soul. And it's not speaking English, it's speaking energy. But we were taught to ignore that language. We were taught to trust logic over resonance, to override the gut feeling in favor of the right decision, to explain everything, even when the truth was felt long before it was understood. Let me offer a metaphor. Remember old radios? You had to tune the dial and slowly, precisely, to find the exact station. Too far left or right, and all you heard was static. But once you hit the frequency, the signal came through loud and clear. That's what your soul is doing, tuning you. Every discomfort, every random shift in mood or energy is your inner dial adjusting, searching for that next clear signal. And here's the deeper layer. The mind wants clarity, it wants instructions, it wants bullet points. But your soul wants experience. It speaks in sensations, symbols, synchronicities. It speaks through tears at a song you've never heard before, through the heaviness in your chest when you're not being fully honest, through goosebumps at a truth you didn't expect to hear. So instead of asking, "What does this mean?" try asking, "What does this feel like?" And not just emotionally. Feel it in your body, the tightness in your throat, the softness in your belly, the flutter in your heart. This is your inner compass, ancient, intuitive, exact. Here's something you can try right now. Close your eyes. Don't ask anything. Don't try to figure anything out. Just sit and feel. Let the thoughts come and let them pass. Notice the hum beneath the noise. That's where your soul lives. Not in the answers, but in the presence beneath the question. Because when the language ends, the truth begins. And next, we'll explore that truth in a deeper form, not as an ending, but as a return. You'll see why all this confusion, all this shedding, all this silence might not be a breakdown, but the arrival of your truest self. This isn't the end, it's a re-entry. There's a certain heaviness that comes just before the breakthrough, not the loud kind, not the dramatic kind, but a quiet, disorienting stillness, like you're floating between worlds, unable to return, unsure how to move forward. And it's here, in this liminal space, that a haunting thought begins to echo. Am I falling apart? But what if you're not unraveling? What if you're arriving? We're conditioned to believe that confusion is failure, that when things no longer make sense, we must be doing something wrong. But in truth, confusion is sacred. It means your old framework can no longer hold your expanding truth. You don't feel lost because you've strayed from the path. You feel lost because the map you've been using doesn't match this terrain anymore. And how could it? This version of you has never walked here before. This isn't the end. It's a re-entry. Into the body. Into the moment. Into the now. Unfiltered, unmasked, unperformed, and yes, it feels unfamiliar. because you're remembering how to exist without the story, without the striving, without the version of you that needed to prove something just to feel worthy of rest. This is the moment where the soul takes the lead, where the mind no longer runs the show, where identity melts and essence emerges. And maybe it's messy, maybe it's not poetic or peaceful. Maybe it looks like forgetting what day it is, crying for no reason, saying no without needing to justify it. But this is the truth breaking through. Not a truth you read, a truth you remember in your bones. So when your energy shifts, when your emotions surge, when your thoughts scatter, don't fight it. Witness it, name it, allow it. Let me offer you a phrase. Let it land softly in your nervous system. My confusion is proof of my awakening. And today, take this one invitation with you. Go somewhere familiar. It could be a room, a neighborhood, a person. And instead of asking what changed out there, ask what shifted in you. What no longer resonates? What feels more clear? What now feels like a costume you've outgrown? Because the signs of your return aren't always dramatic. Sometimes they're subtle. A deeper breath, a sharper no, a quieter mind. And that's how you know. You didn't collapse. You remembered. You're not who you were, because the world isn't what it was. And that's not a metaphor. It's an energetic fact. Something shifted, not just in the external world, but in the structure of consciousness itself. You've been sensing it, feeling it, and now, you're starting to remember it. You've moved through each layer of this journey with presence. You've breathed through the static. You've questioned the beliefs. You've listened to the silence. And that alone is an act of profound courage. So now what? Now you stop trying to go back. Back to who you were. Back to what felt safe. Back to the system that told you who to be. You're not meant to reboot into the past. You're meant to root into the truth. Today, choose just one routine, one behavior, one belief, one automatic loop, and let it pause. Let the new frequency find space inside you, not because you're forcing change, but because you're allowing truth. And remember the phrase we shared earlier, I no longer speak the language of the old system. I vibrate with truth. Let that be your compass, your anchor, your quiet revolution. If this video reached a part of you that words can't name, thank you. Thank you for walking through this space with your full energy, your presence, and your heart open. Thank you for showing up for yourself, not with answers, but with willingness, for making it this far, for not rushing the process, for honoring your timing. We're not just viewers here, we are a field, remembering, evolving, syncing. And if you felt this resonance, share it. Comment below. Tell me, was there a moment that mirrored your journey? Did something inside you click, even if just for a breath? If you felt held in this video, give it a like. Not just for numbers, but as a marker of presence. And if you want to walk deeper into this path with us, subscribe. This is only the beginning. There's a next video waiting for you. Why you still hold on to the old self. It can't survive. And it continues this exact frequency. You don't have to walk this alone. Not anymore. We're here. And remember, the reality begins where your old pattern ends. Until the next signal, stay tuned to your soul.